Each game round starts with main phase, which is used for playing units to the battleground. Units can be played to player's base. That means on any of these 5 fields. Players aren't limited by quantity of played units, but they are limited by the amount of sources at their disposal. For playing unit, it's required to pay appropriate amount of sources shown by their price. Besides units, player can play events marked by main or any time flag, which can have influence on the game. Then it's opponent's turn. Move phase is the most strategic phase of the game round. In this phase, each player can move up to 3 units on the battleground. By default, units can move by 1 field or more if card has passive ability Move. Units can't move diagonally, but only in 4 directions. Left, right, backward, forward. Units can't move through opponent units and locations. Moving through friendly units and locations is possible, but only with passive ability Move, and the unit isn't allowed to stop on the field where friendly unit or location is. Movement of units as well as the whole phase move can be influenced by events marked with Move or any time flags. For example, they can provide increased range of motion. Now it's opponent's turn. The third phase allows us to explore locations on the battleground. During this phase, players can play locations on free spaces adjacent to their units. There are 4 uses of locations. Firstly, all locations expand area for playing units on the battleground. In main phase, you may play new units on free spaces adjacent to locations and with that accelerate transfer of units on opponent's side. Secondly, locations provide defense for units against opponent. They work as a shield and opponent can't move and attack through them. Thirdly, locations provide benefits thanks to ability written on the bottom of the card. And finally, locations are control points which are important in dominance phase. Even in explore phase, you can play events marked by any time flag. Now it's opponent's turn. In the battle phase, units fight on the battleground and both players can initiate up to 3 combats. Attack can be done just at adjacent opponent's units, or you can attack to the next field if you have passive ability Ranged. With units which have special ability Ranged, you can attack over your units, but you can't attack over opponent units or any locations. Battle starts with selecting targets in order, which are determined by target tokens 1, 2, and 3. Now we can proceed to resolving of combats. To count which units wins the combat, you have to compare their attack and defense. Player who has more power wins the combat. Die has no effect here. Unit with lower defense than attacker's attack receive wound in form of red blood glass counter. For each winning combat, the winner will receive 2 sources and opponent loses 2 sources. In the moment when unit receives same amount or more of red blood glass counters, than number of its lives, or if the total value of attack is twice higher than total defense of defending unit, the defending unit is immediately killed and goes to the opponent's discard pile. Player who kills the unit in combat will receive sources in quantity of cost of the unit he killed and gets 2 sources for winning the combat. Opponent loses 2 sources. In combat, locations resist opponent's attack with their defense until attack is equal or higher than its defense. The battle phase can be affected by events with combat or anytime flex. Dominance phase is used for resolving control of the battlefield. Both players are counting all units and locations in each row and column and compare them with opponent. Domination in each row and column is rewarded by 1 source. Locations are counted as 2 units. There are also cards that add extra sources for each winned row or column. Dominance phase can be affected by events marked by anytime flag. Dominance phase is important to get sources for paying units at the start of next round. It also represents a powerful tool for getting 30 sources for winning the game. Draw phase is the final part of each round. Players may get rid of any amount of cards that they don't need and put them to the discard pile. They draw cards until they have 6 cards in their hands. If player has more than 6 cards, he has to discard some cards to 6 in his hand. If player draw all the cards from his draw deck, he cannot draw new cards and the game will continue with cards which are currently in the game. Player who has started this round passes survival coin to another player.